again, there were Epstein files that were produced, partial Epstein files, when the full files were requested. And those Epstein files that were produced were heavily redacted. It's absolutely ridiculous that there were pages that were completely blacked out. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pages just completely blacked out. Well, that is not what was requested by Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie. And so now Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie are pursuing possible actions to impeach Pam Bondi. That's right, folks. Let's go ahead and get into it. Of course, Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie were not happy. They had quite a bit to say. Check it out.
We're actually in this morning talking, and we said, look, we're willing to give them some benefit of the doubt as long as the quality of the release is substantive. But what we found out is the most important documents are missing. They've had excessive redactions. And the central question that Americans want to know, who are the other rich and powerful men on the island raping these young girls or covering up, has not been answered.
So those two documents that you were told by the survivors' attorneys that are the most important, the indictment that came out before Jeffrey Epstein got a sweetheart deal and an 82-page memo backing up why he should be charged, neither of those are in this release tonight.
Neither of them are in the release. And to the extent the drafter's intent of a law matters, Thomas Massie and I explicitly drafted it to cover those two documents. And you had three federal judges look at our law and say, release everything in terms of the grand jury. You had judges saying release it, and then the Department of Justice is redacting it. Now, I know what they're thinking. They think, okay, it's going to be Christmas. They're going to do this release, and people are going to move on. I would just remind them that's what they thought, that the Trump administration thought when they shut down Congress early before the August recess.
So Ro Khanna is teed, and so is Thomas Massie. Like I said, they've gone on a number of shows. I want you to see what Thomas Massie said on the House floor. This is very brutal. Again, you see why Donald Trump wants to get Thomas Massie out of Congress. Listen to this.
Decades. That is wrong. Do not let the Senate muck this bill up. And if you're a party to that in the Senate, you are part of this cover-up that we are trying to expose. I am sorry if one of your billionaire donors is going to get embarrassed because he went to Rape Island. That is what they have coming. In fact, they need to be on the other side of bars, a lot of them. Some of them will be embarrassed, but some of them need to go to prison, and the survivors know that. So how will we know if this bill has been successful? We will know when there are men, rich men in handcuffs being perp-walked to the jail. And until then, this is still a cover-up. Decades.
Yeah, and this is why Donald Trump doesn't want him in there anymore. I do appreciate this coalition between Ro Khanna, Thomas Massie, and it was also Marjorie Taylor Greene, but you guys know that she's now resigning. We need to see more of this, right? Like people standing up for what's right and not what's right for their party. Does that make sense? So Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie appeared on Face the Nation Sunday morning. You guys have got to see this. 1 second here. Let me pull this up here. At 6:20. 222. Yeah, Face the Nation. So let me go ahead and bring this in here.
Not the way this works.
Okay, what are you going to do about it to force them to comply? I mean, can you do anything?
Oh, absolutely. Look, people have talked about, and by the way, Todd Blanche is the face of this, but it's really the Attorney General's office, Pam Bondi, who is responsible. And there are several ways to get at this. Some take longer, some are shorter. The quickest way, and I think most expeditious way to get justice for these victims is to bring inherent contempt against Pam Bondi. And that doesn't require going through the courts. And give her, and basically Ro Khanna and I are talking about and drafting that right now.
Okay, well, I mean, on another network this morning, Democratic Senator Tim Kaine said impeachment or contempt, it is premature Congressman Khanna, and the Deputy Attorney General said, bring it on. They don't seem to be taking this very seriously. And if you just don't have the math in the Senate, including at least now this Democratic senator not being convinced, doesn't that sort of show that you're at the limit of pressure?
Tim Kaine is a sellout, okay? Like Tim Kaine of all people, he always caves to pressure. That's Tim Kaine, okay? But listen to what they say here.
No, we only need the House for inherent contempt, and we're building a bipartisan coalition, and it would fine Pam Bondi for every day that she's not releasing these documents. I'll tell you why. I've talked to the survivors, why this is such a slap in the face. One of the survivors said they released her name accidentally, but they still have not released the FBI file about the people who abused her at her request. And the problem here is that there are rich and powerful people. We all know this. There are 1,200 victims. They're rich and powerful people who either engaged in this abuse, covered it up, or were on this island. And what the American people want to know is, who are these people? And instead of holding them accountable, Pam Bondi is breaking the law. And this is the corrupt system, the Epstein class that people are sick of. So I believe we're going to get bipartisan support in holding her accountable. And a committee of Congress should determine whether these redactions are justified or not.
It's sometime in January when you all come back, I assume that.
Let me just pause this here. So got to remember, Face the Nation is a part of CBS, and we all know who's editor-in-chief there at this point in time. But here's something to think about. Pam Bondi, the woman who said she's going to crack down on all these criminals, we're going to go after everybody. That woman is right now, she's breaking the law. She's officially breaking the law. Even Community Notes called her out on Twitter for her lies by saying that her administration is being nothing but completely transparent. That is a blatant lie. Those of us that had access to the files, and there was a link that was put out so anyone can go to that link, and I'll show you as well and see for yourself. The fact that they sat up there and they literally just like took like a marker and just blacked out all these pages is bullshit. And that's not what was asked of them. So yes, Pam Bondi is breaking the law. And I really do believe that, yes, she should be held in contempt. I mean, think about it, guys. The ridiculousness of this coming from her, the person who said, we're cracking down on those criminals, we're going after everybody, is currently breaking the law.
That'll happen. I want to ask you, though, Congressman Khanna, there have been images released in the past 48 hours. Some of them include former President Bill Clinton. There's at least one image of Donald Trump. I should say neither man has been accused of any wrongdoing related to Epstein, though they clearly knew him. But since Friday's publication, we're showing the image here now. One of the pictures was pulled down. There were 15 images total that were then redacted from the DOJ website. And it's kind of hard to see, but it's an open drawer with a photo of President Trump. Why do you think that was pulled down? Because the Deputy Attorney General says this was victims saying that their privacy or somehow their integrity was being compromised by having that image published.
What a ridiculous question. So here's the thing, and we'll show you some of this yourself so you can see basically what they did, what Pam Bondi and them did, is they removed anything that made Trump look bad, and they kept everything in that would make, quote unquote, Democrats look bad. That's basically what they did. And one photo of Donald Trump out of all the photos that we've seen is absolutely ridiculous. They went through and made sure they scrubbed his name and made sure that he would be in good standing. But again, as I said before, there are multiple photos, which I'll show you, that have Bill Clinton and other people who are with other women, and their faces are redacted. So you can't see the faces of those women. They could have done the same thing for Donald Trump, but they decided just to remove them instead. I mean, it's so blatantly obvious. Right now, Pam Bondi, Donald Trump, and whack-ass Ben Shapiro, who made that statement at America Fest, they are covering up for a sex trafficking ring to protect their precious Israel. That is what they are doing at this point in time. And they're not alone. And here's the thing. When I told you the Epstein files are bipartisan, believe me, because there's a number of pictures. I showed one of them last time I talked about this, but there's a number of pictures with Noam Chomsky that has leftists like freaking out. But the reality is, these pictures show that Noam Chomsky is hanging out with people that he told you were bad people. So what that goes to show you is that at the end of the day, when money talks and when it comes to business, people don't always follow what they say. So I don't care who any of these people, I don't care what political affiliation the people are. And you shouldn't either. But I sat there on X and I watched people try to find ways to run cover for Trump, tried to find ways to run cover for Noam Chomsky, not realizing they're both a part of the same club. And yes, it's disappointing. I get it. It is disappointing. Noam Chomsky wrote Manufacturing Consent. You're upset. You're disappointed. It's a bummer. It sucks. But that doesn't mean that you sit up here and you look the other way or you try to make excuses for it. What these pictures showed is that Noam Chomsky had a closer relationship with Jeffrey Epstein than he claimed that he had, and he had a long relationship with him. It wasn't just we met for a meeting or two. And it is driving me crazy that people are doing that with him and with Trump because they don't want their hero to be wrong or to be engaged in something like this.
Well, I'm less concerned about that photo. I don't know the facts. My concern is the major documents that we know are out there that haven't been released. The 60 count indictment that shows massive financial fraud and foreign interference, the prosecution memo. And look, they put out these Bill Clinton pictures. Well, they're allegations that they're foreign governments that potentially were involved. And that all needs to come out. And it needs to come out in the indictments. It needs to come out in the prosecution memos. But the reality is they put out these pictures for Bill Clinton. Fine, put it all out, but don't distract from the fundamental issue, which is who are these powerful people who visited the rape island? I mean, there are 1,200 victims. It defies common sense that it was just Epstein and Maxwell, and they're hiding something. Yep. And you know why the American people are so upset? My X account had MAGA supporters supporting me for the first time, saying, you know, Pam Bondi whiffed, according to Susan Wiles. She is breaking the law. She needs to be held accountable.
You're referring to the Vanity Fair quote that the chief of staff gave saying the whiffed, and she said that Pam Bondi gave them binders full of nothingness. And then when it came to the client list, she said it was on her desk. There is no client list, quote, and it sure as hell wasn't on her desk. Do you see that as an acknowledgement here, though, that the politics have overtaken the substance?
Duh. I'm not even going to get into we got to get out of this. Duh, of course, people are running cover for their party instead of trying to find ways to get justice to the victims. Now, let's get into some of this. One of the things that was revealed in these files was this report that was filed by Maria Farmer, who, after all these years, has finally been validated. Maria Farmer, don't forget, she came out against Jeffrey Epstein years ago, before all of this happened. And people called her crazy and all different types of names. Well, now you see this information is reported in the files.
Epstein survivor Maria Farmer says that she is, quote, over the moon because of the fact this document was part of the DOJ partial release of the Epstein files. She says that this is a validation of the story that she has said for years, that she first reported Epstein back in 1996, telling the police that he stole the photos of her and her underage sister and that he threatened to burn down their house, that all there. But however, other survivors are still waiting for their validation. Danielle Bensky speaking to the press about how disappointed she was, the fact that all the documents are not coming out today, that as much as this information will bring up trauma, how important it is for them to have the information from the federal government about details the federal government knows about their own lives, as well as validation, how important you saw today for Maria Farmer to receive such validation. Sadly, other survivors still waiting. Epstein
but Maria is now validated. So people owe that woman a huge apology. And I think we have the one of Noam Chomsky here as well. I'll go ahead and bring this up. And yeah, this one sucks. It really does. But people got to see this, because my whole thing is like, look, We're not running cover for any of these fucking people. Let's go ahead and bring this one up here. This is Max Blumenthal shared it. Here was another one. Noam Chomsky, and look at who he's with. Noam Chomsky hanging out with Ehud Barak, 2015. Chomsky choosing to stain his legacy by befriending an Israeli war criminal via Epstein is sad, but also contemptible in light of his undercutting of the BDS movement. Yes, people forget this, but remember, Noam Chomsky did not support boycott, divest, and sanction. He did not support BDS. And there is Noam Chomsky right there with Ehud Barak. Now, why is this important? Ehud Barak is the former prime minister of Israel. He is also one of the people that Virginia Giuffre wrote about in her book, who she said violently assaulted her. She said that was one of the worst experiences that she had. It was with him. It's in her book. And so, yeah, it's disappointing, but you can't just say, I'm not going to talk about that person because I liked Noam Chomsky, so we're not going to mention him. And I'm seeing people do that, just like I'm seeing people do it with Trump as well. Here's another one. Fidel Castro. Fidel Castro invited and hosted Jeffrey Epstein in 2003, along with the former Colombian president. No surprises, Fidel Castro was instrumental in disarming revolutionary anti-colonial armies in the region for empire and gagging Assata Shakur, R.I.P. There's Fidel Castro with Epstein and Colombia's former president. This guy knew a lot of people. Epstein knew a lot of people. This is how deep this guy was. We'll continue to show you more. First and foremost, shout out to the guy who created this. We'll get to him in just a second. He's a rock star. Rise here. He made an Epstein file viewer because the government's website sucks, which it did. And so we'll get to that in just a second. But here's one of the things that you're going to see in those files. Actually, I'll come back out so you can see it bigger. There's a uniform. And here is an IDF t-shirt. Israeli Defense Forces. So there you go. Now, can people just stop asking, well, we don't really know if Jeffrey Epstein was Mossad. He got a freaking IDF t-shirt. Right there, out in the open. I told you they don't want Israel to be implicated. This is the one about the photo on the desk. A photo depicting Donald Trump image 468 has apparently just been deleted from yesterday's Epstein file drop. Very damning. Yeah. The picture in question, it was a picture of Jeffrey Epstein's desk, and it showed pictures of Donald Trump. I'll show you other angles as well. But there's a couple of pictures here of Donald Trump in the desk drawer. There's one here with him and other women. And then there's a picture of him there. Like I said, if it was about protecting the victims, they could have just easily just blurred out their faces. If that was the case, just like they have with some of these other pictures that you will see as well. But they removed that. Everybody sees what's going on and people still running cover for Trump. It's absolutely disgusting. And we did the Fidel Castro one. Let's go to part 2 for Type VNC. I want to show you guys this website that Rise created. It was smart to do that. When those files dropped and that link appeared, everybody was trying to access the link at the same time, and it kept saying you're in the queue. And then eventually it was very clunky. You guys know how government websites can be, just basically a hot mess at the end of the day. Let's go to this one here. Here's another angle so you guys can see that desk. A photo from Trump has been removed from the Epstein file. Shout out to Power to the People. There was another one of Donald Trump right here on Epstein's desk. Yeah, like they were friends. It kills me now. All of a sudden, people want to distance themselves from this dude as if they had nothing to do with them. Get out of here. So this is what Rise created, and I find it to be very effective. You can just go up here and you can select the names of the people. And so I selected Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton, there's 25 pictures in here of Bill Clinton. You can click on them here. See, this is what I meant. So there's Bill Clinton in the jacuzzi, pool, hot tub, whatever the hell that's supposed to be. There's a woman here, but you see there's a black square over her face. So they did that to protect them. They could have done the same thing with Donald Trump. But again, they're trying to make him look, good. But there's a number of pictures with Bill Clinton here. There's one of him. I don't know who this is, but again, like I said, they covered up the face. Let's go down here. Another one. That's to protect those women. Here's another one. Bill Clinton again. I wonder what Hillary has to say about all this. I wonder what she has to say. We'll get back to that Michael Jackson one because that one's one that they doctored. Here is Bill Clinton and Mick Jagger with a woman. See, this is what I'm saying. Like, it's a lot of people, and they know it's going to take a lot of people down, and that's why they don't want you guys to see that. So if we change the names just to show you the difference, if I go to Donald Trump's name, there is just one picture, one, and that's this one. So do you see what I'm saying? One picture of Donald Trump, but he got all these pictures of Trump on his desk. So they changed these. The one that's driving people crazy is Chris Tucker. For those who are not aware, Chris Tucker, he was in the Rush Hour movies. He became famous more so after the Fridays, like the movie Friday with Ice Cube. I didn't even know that Chris Tucker knew Jeffrey Epstein in that way. So it makes you wonder, how did Jeffrey Epstein get a hold of Chris Tucker? And here he is here. There's a picture of Chris Tucker there. Let's just go to the next. We can go to him. There's him and Ghislaine Maxwell right outside of a plane. Anybody heard from Chris Tucker lately? Anybody? I was shocked to see this one. Let's go to the next one here. There he is again. There's Chris Tucker again. There's a number of these pictures here, but I was kind of shocked to see him. I was surprised because Chris Tucker, yeah, he's popular, at one point, but it's not like Chris Tucker was like the number one actor or whatever at that point in time. It's just random to me that they developed in a relationship with Chris Tucker. Number of names that he did to sort here. The Jeffrey Epstein ones are kind of, some of these I can't show in here. But you can also go to that site and you can see this for yourself. David Copperfield. What's this about? David Copperfield in a robe with Ghislaine Maxwell there. There's another one. I mean, by the way, anybody heard from David Copperfield, or did he make himself disappear? Because I haven't heard from Dave in quite a while. Haven't heard from you, Dave. Let's see who else is here. Walter Cronkite. I think I showed those. We saw Mick Jagger, Kevin Spacey. There's Kevin Spacey there that's Bill Clinton to its left. For those who are not aware, Kevin Spacey was accused of sexual assault of a male who claimed he was a minor at the time, right here in Massachusetts. Kevin Spacey wasn't found guilty. I think they may have dropped the charges. I forget, but yeah, people, I don't know. I don't know if everybody remembers that. And they're even doctoring things. Look at this one. Tennessee Holler says, wild. As the community note says, Trump's DOJ released a publicly available pic of MJ and Clinton and Diana Ross with their own kids and implied it's them with victims. They aren't just redacting, they're doctoring. This is wild. So people took this and they ran with it. It's a picture of Michael Jackson with Bill Clinton and Diana Ross, and these are their kids. This picture was included in the Epstein files release. So people took it and they said, oh my God, look at this. Per the Epstein files, here is a picture of Bill Clinton with his arm around Michael Jackson and redacted individuals. So people said, look, Michael Jackson was there with victims, Those are his kids, and that's Diana Ross's kid. So Community Notes came in and said, this is a publicly available picture. It was taken in 2003 at a Democratic fundraiser. The faces of Evan Ross, Paris, and Prince Jackson are blurred. So what I'm saying is, guys, they're removing things from the files and they're including things in the files that have nothing to do with the files. Anything but to point the finger at Donald Trump and the others. I want to show you this as well. The DOJ also got pushback from Community Notes. The Justice Department is not redacting the names of any politicians. Todd Blanche made it clear the only redactions being applied to the documents are those required by law, full stop, consistent with the statute and applicable laws. We are not redacting the names of individuals or politicians unless they are a victim. Community Notes stepped in. The DOJ's extensive redaction of the only partially released Epstein files does not comply with the Epstein Files Transparency Act and thus is against the law. So Pam Bondi is breaking the law. There's a poll question there. You guys can answer whether or not you think that she should be impeached. But I just want to take you back to what Robert David Steele said about Epstein. This guy is no longer around. Listen.
Epstein was basically a penniless moron who couldn't graduate from college. And they placed him in a school and then they sheep dipped him at Bear Stearns. And then Les Wexner, who appears to have had an affair with him, then funded him as a fake billionaire. And that was the launch. Now, Epstein wasn't smart enough to actually run a prostitution ring. That's all Ghislaine Maxwell. Okay? Ghislaine Maxwell, as best I can tell from secondary sources, was running a prostitution ring for the Mossad in New York City. It included children, but they needed a boy and bring people in and kind of basically take it up to the presidential level. And so Jeffrey Epstein was managed by Ghislaine Maxwell. And one of the things people don't understand is that the Mossad doesn't just blackmail people for political influence and for money for Israel. They also blackmail corporate chiefs and others to gain special access to the computers so that they can plant backdoors. This is how Robert Maxwell made his name, with a software program called Promise that installed backdoors in all these government computers. They use these computer backdoors to get advanced knowledge to do insider trading. The greatest practitioner and enemy of the United States in the industrial espionage arena is not China or Russia or France or Germany. It's Israel and Great Britain.
And not too long after that statement, he was gone. And all this time, the U.S. government has been trying to get you to hate China, Russia, Venezuela, when Israel is the one that has the technology and the technological advancement to get these backdoors in these computers to do insider trading. Guys, I'm trying to tell you, there's a lot of blackmail that's going on, and the levees have broken. And that's why you see people reacting the way they are. They don't know what to do. They're like, not the person I trusted so well. No, it's the Democrats. No, it's the Republicans. No, no, no. All these people are part of the same club. And I wouldn't be surprised if some of these rich people within that circle also have dirt on each other. The same way you got dirt on people that you probably grew up with. They also have dirt on each other. And it could also be one of those things where Donald Trump's kind of like, oh, if all this gets out there, then people may come out with some other stuff about me. Like, these people are corrupt, they're evil, and they need to be stopped. Just point blank. It's disgusting. And what is hilarious to me is that I'm seeing people from the party of family values try to make excuses for this. That's the crazy part. Don't come to me talking to me about no family value. I don't want to hear it. Don't want to hear it. Not the people who wanted to protect the children. When the levee breaks, That's where we're at right now, guys. It's crazy. It's wild. I think Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie, they really need to, I mean, they're banding together here. Somebody protect both of them, especially Thomas Massie, because Donald Trump already says he don't want him to come back into Congress. It's just a mess. It's just an absolute mess. And masks are falling off. Crazy times. Okay, should Congress impeach Pam Bondi for not complying with the Epstein file release? We have holy shit, how many people were watching today? 4,128 votes. Should Congress impeach Pam Bondi for not complying with the Epstein files? 5% said no, 87% said hell yes, and 9% said I am not sure. Well, Bondi Blondie, it don't look good for you. At least not on this channel. My viewers are not having it. Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.